Hi everybody, I'm T-Flex and today I'm gonna help you make your protein shakes taste less like chalk. Like normally I would start a video with like some kind of like a disclaimer that's like, look, I'm not an expert, this is just me on my journey. But I'm telling you, I am an expert at making tasty protein shakes and I have receipts. If you already know you wanna eat a protein shake and you just want tasty recipes, jump to this timestamp over here. Am I pointing at anything? But if you want to hear a little bit more about why people eat protein shakes and if that might be helpful for you, then stick around. I just want to take a second to actually at anyone who's not a complete protein convert yet. If you're new to protein shakes, you might just associate them with like large beefy men, and you should. Large beefy men invented protein shakes and we should honor their legacy. Otherwise, that's called swultural appropriation. But if you're like, I don't want to be huge and beefy, why would I drink a protein shake? I want to assure you that large beefy men and women work extremely hard to be large beefy men and women. If you could get there just by drinking a protein shake, they would not be selling each other so many stupid gadgets and drugs. Basically, behind all the hype, protein shakes are just food. Every calorie of food that you consume is made of either carbohydrate, fat, protein, or alcohol. That's it. Those are the choices. I mean, there's like fiber and water in there, which your body doesn't digest, but if you're getting calories from it, it has to be one of those four things. And spoiler alert, there aren't many sources of protein out there that could be possibly mistaken for a dessert food. I think it'd be hard to bring a chicken breast with you to the gym and eat it out of your gym bag. When people call protein powder a supplement, they're not talking about it like it's like a capsule of vitamin D that you can take so you don't have to leave your gaming lair and see the blinding light of the Dawn Star. It's food that you're eating instead of other food. And there's plenty of reasons a person might want to eat more protein than other macronutrients. For one thing, it supports muscle growth and muscle maintenance. The daily allowance of protein recommended by the World Health Organization is 0.8 grams per kilogram or 0.36 grams per pound. So for me, as like a 200-pound woman, that's like 72 grams of protein a day. But that's just kind of like to maintain my muscular size if I were a sedentary person who didn't play strength sports. If you're a person who wants to be more active, who wants to grow their muscles, or who wants to maintain their muscles as they're losing body fat, it's generally considered not only safe, but more healthy to consume more protein than that minimum amount. Another reason is that for people who are trying to lose fat or prevent fat gain while eating to satiety, protein is a really good choice for a macronutrient because it can be more satiating than an equal caloric content of either carbohydrates or fat, or of course alcohol. Carbs and fat both have very well-traveled metabolic pathways for fat storage. You eat too much fat or carbs, your body is really good at saving those things for later. But protein, that's not really what it does. It breaks it down into amino acids. It uses those amino acids to build your muscles. And if you have too much, you might just poop it out. It doesn't really want to turn your amino acids into energy, so its pathways for doing that are really limited. There's actually this disease called rabbit malaise, where a bunch of like explorers and Inuit people who were having difficulty finding enough blubbery animals and were eating a bunch of rabbits suddenly just like pooped themselves and died because they just couldn't get enough energy from protein to survive. Please don't try to just eat protein so you poop yourself and die. That is not a good metabolic recommendation. Like beyond a certain point, you just can't like process any more like protein in your kidneys and it's just like, I'm done. But the point is that like, if you're gonna eat a little bit extra of something and you're trying to feel satiated without storing extra fat, protein's a pretty good choice as a macronutrient. But why shouldn't you eat protein shakes? Well, if you've got kidney problems, that's a great reason not to eat protein shakes. Protein gets broken down into amino acids in your kidneys. So if you're having any problems with your kidneys, or even you have a slight suspicion that you have problems with your kidneys, you should be talking to your doctor about how much protein you should be eating, not listening to YouTubers. If you're sedentary, if you're not doing a lot of activity, then the recommended daily allowance of 10 to 15% of your calories from protein should be pretty sufficient to not like get sick or have bad things happen to you. You can definitely eat more if you don't have the kidney problems, but you don't really have a pressing need to get more protein into your diet if you're not active. You don't like them. If you'd rather eat like whole food protein sources like chicken and egg and wheat gluten and whatever the heck, lentils, knock yourself out. There's absolutely no reason that you need to eat protein shakes over those other foods if you prefer them. You'll see a whole bunch of like advertising from protein shark companies about like super hydrolyzed, fast digesting, get it in your muscles as soon as you work out. And like, but that's like Most studies show if that does anything, it is a tiny benefit for very obsessive, good at lifting people. And if you're trying to like super optimize your pump in your workout, go for it. But for the average person, if you prefer regular food to protein shakes, there's no reason to eat a protein shake instead of regular food if it doesn't make you feel full. A lot of people find liquids less satiating than solids. Like, you can find scientific research that goes either way on this one. But like, anecdotally, a ton of people say they really don't feel as full on a protein shake as they do on some other source of protein. So I think you should definitely try it for yourself and see if it makes a difference to you. Another thing that you should look out for is the fact that protein shakes could be considered hyperpalatable. That's fancy science talk for it's way easier to eat a bunch of food that tastes like ice cream than it is to eat a bunch of food that tastes like fermented beef tallow. Science! But seriously, like, people often have an easier time overeating on foods that are really tasty than they do on foods that are just like, yeah, I could eat this, that's fine. Like, I'm not saying that you should be eating all your food from gross things because that's stupid, but I find that often some people do have an issue with getting more food cravings when they're eating more foods that taste like chocolate. I'd say all in all, unless you have those kidney problems, I'd recommend give a protein shake a try and see if it makes your food life happier. Great, you know you want a protein shake. How do you make it taste not like chalky garbage? 1, make it at home in a blender. This should be obvious to everybody, but protein shakes taste better when they're blended with ice and some milk or milk substitute than when they're shaken up in a shaker bottle with some water. Don't have time at home to make a fancy protein shake? That's fine, but try to pick a flavor that would sound good with water if you described it to a normal human adult that doesn't own wrist wraps and a slingshot. So this isn't a product placement, but when I used to work out on the way to work, I used to love Syntrax Nectar brand protein powders. Like, they make them in all these fruity flavors that are supposed to resemble like high C or Tang more than like a milkshake. So they taste like crappy and watery, but like they're supposed to taste crappy and watery. But whatever brand you get something that sounds like fruit punch or like strawberry kiwi or coconut or whatever, and toss it in a blender bottle with one of those whisk ball things and add like a Crystal Light or some other 0-calorie drink mix. I used to drink these 4C Energy Rush, like sugar-free energy drink powders mixed with a scoop of protein in the morning. And it was something I genuinely looked forward to after my workout that I could drink in my car on the way to work. Not this right now, because this is unflavored egg white protein. Bad choices. Just, oh my God, wash that shaker bottle out immediately and throw it out the second it starts to smell like bread farted in there, because there's no coming back from that. Now, if you're taking the time at home and using ingredients and throwing them in a nice blender, I'm gonna give you the opposite advice. Buy chocolate protein powder. I don't care what brand it is. I don't care what kind of protein powder it is. You want chocolate. If you don't like chocolate, buy vanilla, but things like cookies and cream, cake batter, salted caramel, whatever bougie flavor it is, they're really super like hit or miss. Like, chocolate and vanilla are usually pretty safe, and if you wanna mix it up, you can just get like vanilla extract or almond extract or any number of different small things that you can add to it that don't take up nearly as much space in your cabinet, and you can use them to make like cookies. Or if you have a friend who likes protein shakes, like, consider like going in together on a weird funny flavor, so that way if you don't like it, then you don't just have to choke down a bunch of eggnog flavored protein by yourself. Pick a milk that works for you. If you're not particularly nutty about macronutrients or lactose, just grab some milk. It is very tasty and it's awesome. If you're watching your carbs, then maybe try like some almond milk is great. Or you can take like a tablespoon of heavy cream and then mix it up with water so that you get that milky flavor, but like without all of the calories and the lactose. Oat milk is one of those that I'm hearing everybody talking about, so definitely give that one a shot. But honestly, like, I know nothing about like vegan milk substitutes because many of them are carby and I just don't know about carbs. What are they? Please help me understand. Try casein. Whey is by far the most popular protein out there, but honestly, it's like not my favorite. I personally prefer casein. The reason that whey is supposed to be so good for you for like a bodybuilder is that when you drink it, it gets digested extremely quickly, and so it goes right to your muscles right after you work out. But if you're someone who's more like, I just want more protein in my diet, I'm treating this more as a meal substitute than like a dietary supplement, fast, go, 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 then you probably like casein better anyway. It digests considerably slower, and my favorite part is that the texture is awesome. It's like very smooth, it blends up really nice, it leads to like this thick kind of pudding-like consistency in your protein shakes, and that is way better than whey. I don't know, whey tastes kind of like grainy to me. Anyone else feel that way? And if milk-derived proteins aren't like great for your insides, then maybe consider like pea protein or hemp protein. There's a whole bunch of different options out there. Explore your options. Like I have some egg white protein, which I bet if you got it in a flavor, it'd be pretty good. Add ice. Ice improves the texture of protein shakes so much. Plus, it's really satisfying to eat it with a spoon. But you need a really good, powerful blender to be able to handle ice without breaking. If you're looking for a nice, if I stick to my lifestyle plan for the next 2 months, I'm going to reward myself gift, consider a really high quality blender. Ninja, Blendtec, whatever. Just get a good beefy one that Consumer Reports recommends for ice, because this thing has helped me so much in sticking to my meal plan but by making protein shakes just taste so much better. But if you don't have a super blender, you can use this amazing trick that I learned from my little sister when we were teenagers. All right, for this part, you're gonna need some ice, a plastic bag, an old sock, and a hammer. Ice goes in the bag. Push the air out of the bag. Bag goes in the sock. Take it outside. Hit the ice with the hammer. That should make them small enough that even the saddest blender can handle making a tasty, icy beverage. And it's enough of a pain in the ass to do that it will motivate you to stick to your plan for 2 months so you can buy that fancy blender. Ta-da! Add in some salt. Chocolate protein shakes don't really taste like real chocolate, but everything tastes better with salt. Don't add too much if you have issues with hypertension or anything, but if some amount of sodium fits in your daily nutritional budget, then I'd highly recommend just adding a little bit to your protein shake to make it taste like more like a real chocolate thing and less like a fake knockoff. Make it thicker. Jello sugar-free pudding mix is awesome. This is probably full of a bunch of chemicals that are bad for me, but the entire packet is like 7 grams of carbohydrates and you only need a little bit of it. I use about 1/10 of this packet for every shake. Just a little dab will do ya, and it makes your protein shakes have a lot more of that frothy consistency. Add some crunch. Like, I just feel like I'm more satiated and more like I'm eating something if my food that I'm eating is crunchy. So I really like to get something that's got a little bit of a crunchy texture and throw it into the shake, either while it's blending, or if I want to feel super like Instagram fancy, I'll pour it in a bowl and then like sprinkle it all on top. I love to add chia seeds for omega-3 fatty acids, unsweetened shredded coconut for fiber, and because it's delicious, and cocoa nibs are awesome. 3 tablespoons of them have 6 grams of net carbs, so that's more low carb than keto, but they're full of fiber and antioxidants, and they have all the flavor of chocolate without the sugar. Also, add some slivered almonds because they're tasty and satiating. And you're done. A shake like this is usually considerably tastier and a lot more substantial. Just like, don't go nuts on the toppings because that'll really take something that used to be like a low calorie thing and then turn it into this giant monstrosity. So be careful if you're watching the amount that you're eating. Mix it up. There's a ton of different ways that you can add a little more flavor and variety to something like a protein shake. Like in the morning, I like to add some instant coffee to turn it into something that's more like a frappuccino. Frozen fruit is amazing. I try to keep low carb, so I'm not usually putting a ton of fruit in there, but a little bit will definitely add a lot of flavor and consistency. Like you can try a vanilla shake with berries and cinnamon, or like do peanut butter and banana. Peanut butter is another great one that's really tasty if you just be careful with the calories. Flavored syrups can be really hit or miss, but like it's definitely a really easy way to switch up the flavoring without like investing in a giant tub of something. I've had some that are super gross and taste more like artificial sweetener than anything, but there are some that are really good flavors. Da Vinci makes a good one, as does Torani. But if the artificial sweetener bothers you, there's actually artificial flavorings that you can get that come without the sweetener. So you can get just like regular cooking extracts like vanilla or almond or orange or whatever you've got in your cabinet. Or there's also these things called Capella drops, which are just like artificial flavors without the sweetener. So then you can just use whatever your sweetener of choice is, whether that be like real sugar or artificial. So that's it. Those are my tips for making a protein shake. I'm gonna have the actual like recipe for the shake that I made in the video in the description box below. But like, what's your favorite kind of shake? Do you have any ideas that you think make that better? Or do you have ideas for other videos you'd like me to cover in the future? I'd love to hear from you. Hit me up in the comments. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate your time. Have a great day.